Exploring the power of curiosity with today's leaders. Uncloud Your Curiosity with Schellman's Chief Executive Officer, Avani Desai.
Hi, welcome. I'm Avani Desai, CEO of Schellman, and I'm excited to invite you to our first series on curiosity and wonder. Today, I'm joined by Schellman's Chief Knowledge and Learning Officer, Ryan Buckner. Welcome, Ryan. It's great to have you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Avani.
So I'm really excited about this series on curiosity and wonder. And I know a lot of people may think, CEO of a cybersecurity company and a Chief Knowledge and Learning Officer of a cybersecurity company, why do they want to talk about curiosity and wonder? So I wanted you to help kick us off. Why don't you ask me a question and we'll get started?
Well, let's start with the obvious.
Okay.
We are a cybersecurity organization. Why are we talking about curiosity and wonder?
So, I'm a mother of three, and I have a 1-year-old at home. And I've been thinking a lot. And one of the things that I started thinking about, especially since I've seen him do all the new things, like crawling and walking, is every time he sees something new,
that's right,
he breaks it, he wants to fix it. There's a lot of oohs and ahs and excitement and wonder. And it got me thinking, curiosity and wonder is an innate thing. We are born with it, right?
Absolutely.
But something happens as we kind of grow through life. And I was trying to pinpoint when it happened to me that I stopped being curious about things. And I don't know if it was between college and my first career, but I started kind of getting into the world of same thing every day.
That's right.
I became an expert at it. But it was like Groundhog's Day. I was doing the same thing over and over.
Absolutely.
And I lost a little bit of that curiosity and wonder. And that affected a lot of things. Job satisfaction for me, and so it came back to how do we harness what we were born with,
that's right,
and what we've always had and continue it through our career.
That is very interesting that you say that, and when you reflect upon your small child. When I think about the most impactful times in my life, right, there's usually a question mark or an exclamation point, right? It's very, very rarely are the most impactful moments in our lives, periods and commas. Those are the boring parts, right? Yeah. And so your small child, having that inquisitive nature and trying to break things and put them back together, hopefully put them back together. I do think that you're absolutely right. I think that speaks to the human spirit. And I think it's necessary for relationships, right? And so I find myself surrounded by a lot of talented professionals, a lot of people that really have done the research, they know their stuff. So I find myself these days less interested in what people think, right? And more interested in why they think what they think. Yeah. And so when curiosity and wonderment, I was thinking, this is actually pretty central to who we are as professionals, not only within our industry, right? Because on the surface, one might say, cybersecurity, some accounting firm, audit, attestation. How curious can you be, right? Yeah. But there's a whole area of our profession, related to professional skepticism.
Correct.
Right? And so we're always asking those questions. Is this reliable? Is this person reliable? Is this situation, strange or unique, right? But then not only just from a job standpoint, right? I think just in order to build relationships, you really need to be in a place to where you're comfortable asking questions for innovation.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think one question I have for you, because you mentioned something very, very interesting there. You said that you can recall the times where you had a lot of questions and you had that curiosity. What's the momentum behind it? Because this happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
They begin to suppress that curiosity and replace it with, just sort of the routine or the mundane in pursuit of career goals, aspirations. Tell me a little bit about when that happened for you, if you can remember.
I do.
And how do you recover from that?
I do. I'm a big believer in you have to reinvent yourself every 5 years. New skills, new job, new job function. You don't have to change jobs, but start doing different things. And so I started my career at a Big Four, just like you did. Yeah. And it was 2009, and I was asked to do a secondment at the national office, and it was within privacy. I'm a security person, and back then, privacy was like a new thing.
That's right.
Yeah. And I was going to be working for our new chief privacy officer, And it was very different. And I had a lot of doubts, and I was scared. And
you were scared.
I was scared. And I was worried. And those are three things that you need, I believe, for wonder and curiosity, right? And so I jumped in 2 feet first, and I learned an entire new skill set. But every day that I woke up, I was excited because I learned something new. And I went into that deep rabbit hole of curiosity.
That's right.
And when you're in that, you're researching, you want to learn, you're talking to people, you're excited. And it was about 8 years into my career at that time, and I was the happiest I had ever been. And that was the pivotal point for me. I realized then that I can't stop learning. That's why this first session is with you as our Chief Learning and Knowledge Officer, is that learning is so important to curiosity.
That's right.
Right?
I agree, and I think that it is that learning and that search, right? You know, when you're hunting down those question marks in life, I think it's important to have an environment that supports that.
Correct.
Right. I think that if it's a situation to where you feel as though, well, I've got to get this particular task done, and I don't have a chance or an opportunity to really sort of be innovative and to think in ways, you know, one of the most commonly used phrases is, you know, thinking outside of the box, but really just, you know, being able to have enough of an opportunity to be sincere in your questioning and say, hey, why are we doing things this way? Are there better ways that we can do things? And that learning aspect, being in an environment to where you are given an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? Give me a chance. I don't know the answer yet, but I have an idea, and I'm willing to do the research and the hard work to find out those answers so that you can have that innovation and maintain that spirit.
And I think it's also important to say you're willing to fail over and over again.
Absolutely.
Because that's the only way that you'll continue to learn, right? You can't fail once, or you cannot never fail and say you're going to be curious, right? You've got to go through all of those different hurdles to identify it. So I'm going to ask you a question now.
Okay.
So you spent almost 2 decades.
That's right.
In the field, leading our SOC practice.
That's right.
Being the technical expert.
That's right.
And every time that I talk to you, since I've known you, you always had this excitement and this twinkle in your eye when we talked about knowledge and learning development.
Absolutely.
So in 2021, actually early 2022, you came on board as our first ever Chief Knowledge and Learning Officer. How has that sparked curiosity in your life?
Oh my goodness. So the spark has been there. I definitely am a people person, and I am a big proponent of relationships and relationship building. I think that's important. I think that knowledge and learning and the ability to help people answer questions, you know, or find those answers themselves is a very personal thing. I think it gives a very meaningful way to not only have a relationship with a person, but really help them in life, beyond their career, right? And beyond their job or their profession, to be able to connect with them because they are searching for something. Now, in the context of a business, context of an organization, you know, there's professional training and things of that nature that make it easy. But when you really are involved with someone and they're asking, say, hey, I'd like to do this with my career, or I'd like to improve in this way or that way, I think they're letting you in and they're giving you an opportunity to really add value beyond the bottom line and beyond the top line revenue numbers. And so I take that opportunity very seriously. And it is a spark. It absolutely is a spark. I like to talk. I like to laugh. As I mentioned before, the best moments of my life have been, you know, question marks and exclamation points. And I think knowledge and learning management really gives me an opportunity to engage with other professionals on both of those fronts. I would say that I've always had sort of an attitude, and this is something I picked up from my mother, for learning and for having the answer, right? And so it was important early on in my career to have the answer, to have the right answer. So I would go and I would spend hours and hours of research to the point to where I would be memorizing paragraphs of the attest code and things of that sort. But as I mentioned, you know, it's not so much about having the right answer as much as it's about the journey.
Correct.
The learning and the sharing that and bringing others along and really helping people learn. Just like you said, you know, loving the learning aspect of it allows you to reinvent yourself from time to time.
So if there was a picture dictionary and we looked under C for curiosity, it would have your face on it.
Thank you so much.
Because you are completely right. Through the last 10 years that I've known you, you have always kind of said, hey, let me take that because I want to learn more. And I agree, learning is a journey.
Yeah.
And the minute that we stop learning, we become obsolete, we become complacent.
Absolutely.
And that does have a detrimental impact on your personal life, on your professional life. So totally agree. Reinventing yourself will help you not become obsolete, right?
That's right. And I think that it can have a deteriorating or corrosive effect on an entire company's culture. Yeah. Because when people are only concerned with just doing their particular task and they're not interested in asking those questions, hey, can we do it better? Can we be more efficient at it? Can we do it smarter? Yeah. What value are we actually providing to the marketplace, to ourselves, to each other? If they stop asking those questions, as you mentioned, it begins to sort of, calm down that excitement factor. Again, we're professionals. There are important things that we've got to do, but so it's not all pom-poms and rah, rah. But at the end of the day, I do think that there's as you mentioned, that very innate, honest questioning, sincere questioning. Hey, how can we do this better? How can I be better? That introspectiveness, I think, is something that has to be preserved. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm really excited. So thank you for being my first guest on here, and I'm excited that we are going to be creating a culture here of innovation, a culture of really just asking questions and giving feedback, and that all leads to curiosity and wonder. So thanks, Ryan. Always great to talk to you.
Thank you so much. I must say you have piqued my curiosity.
A special thanks to Ryan Buckner. Please join us next time as we have Bhavna Dave, Schellman's Chief People and Culture Officer, who's going to talk about how curiosity and wonder makes a better employee experience.